How to prevent hamstring injuries. Welcome guys. In today's video I'm going to go over how to improve our ability to control our hamstrings in a short position. I find this is a very underlooked area in the rehab and strength community. We spend a lot of time stretching and strengthening our hamstrings in a lengthened position, but not giving that same amount of time or effort to training them in a shortened position. And when it comes to preventing reoccurring hamstring injuries, I find this very important as part of the rehab-prehab process. So the goal of today's video is to go over a couple of exercises that will help improve the function of the hamstrings in a shortened position. So the first exercise I want to go through is called a passive range hold. For this I'll set up in a half kneeling position. Now, I like to set myself up close to something where I can place my hand to support my balance. From here you then want to either shift your pelvis forward slightly or posteriorly pelvic tilt, so dropping the back of the pelvis, lifting the front, or you can also do the two in combination. This is in order to get a slight hip flexor stretch, and then in this position this is what we want to maintain for the exercise. I don't want to lose that pelvic tilting, I don't want anything to change with the spine position. I'm then going to lift my heel towards my butt. So from here I lift up and then I take hold of the back of the leg with my hand and bring the heel close towards my butt as best as possible to close the knee angle. Now if you find getting to that position difficult, you can side bend, get into this position, take hold, come back upright, and just remember to reset the pelvis as you had it so you have a slight hip flexor stretch. Now from here, what I'm going to do is contract the hamstring. So I'm squeezing the hamstring in order to hold this position. So I want to keep the knee as closed as possible. Then I slowly release my hand and I hold that position for 5 seconds and then slowly lower down in a controlled fashion. I reset, take hold, create an isometric contraction, contracting the hamstring, and then slowly release, hold for 5 seconds, and then slowly parachute down. Now, you'll notice a couple of things. The first is when you're in this position and you release, if you watch closely to the heel, you'll notice my heel drifts slightly back. Okay? This is a discrepancy between my active and passive range of motion. In this area of discrepancy, this is where we have less control, we're more vulnerable to injuring ourselves. It's where the hamstring doesn't function as properly as it should. So these are the areas that we want to improve and reduce that discrepancy and reduce those angles between my passive and active range. Now, the second thing you'll notice is from here, as you begin to release, you probably experience cramping in the back of the hamstring, making it really difficult to perform this exercise. This is something that will go away after a few attempts of performing the exercise. The cramping can also be referred to as neurological confusion. This tends to happen when you're performing a new exercise that your body isn't aware of. It's a new movement pattern that you're not familiar with. The nervous system can sometimes get protective and create a spasming sensation in order to prevent yourself from injuring yourself. So generally, after a few attempts, you should notice that spasm sensation begins to decrease. You'll soon be able to close the gap between your active and passive range, and this will start to indicate that you're developing a hamstring that functions better throughout its full range of motion. Now the second exercise I want to go through is a lift off. So as you get better with the passive range hold, in the same setup, what you're going to do is actively lift the heel up towards your butt as best as you can, hold for 5 seconds, and then slowly lower down. Once again, with this exercise, be mindful of your pelvis, so try to have that same setup of posteriorly tilting or leaning forwards as you move, as you perform the exercise, and try not to lose that. There'll be a common tendency as we lift the heel to anteriorly tilt or arch through the pelvis to try and get a little bit more range. So we want to eliminate that and just focus on getting the movement coming from our hamstring contraction. So I hope you found today's exercises helpful. If you did, I would highly recommend you add them into your routine. I would perform somewhere between 2 to 3 sets of 5 reps, holding each rep for 5 seconds. So it will add up to roughly 30 seconds of work. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the comment section below. And if you haven't already checked out my video on how to stretch your hamstrings properly, I highly recommend checking that out. And if you would like to learn more on how to improve hamstring mobility and improve the health and longevity of your joints, then check out my free hamstring mobility class. Thank you very much for watching, guys. See you another time.